Hey folks, Colin here from Sumthins Recording, and today I'm going to show you one trick for getting better separation and more power on your drums. We're going to be looking at getting separation on drums and adding a little bit more power along the way, but before we dive in, if you are ready to go a little bit deeper into the mixing process in its entirety and really start to hone your workflow as an engineer, then I have just the thing for you. It is my 7-step mixing checklist, and it's just a simple PDF that will walk you through the entire mixing process, step by step, to help you get professional and radio-ready mixes without any more of the hassle and without any more of the guesswork. It is a completely free guide, and you can download it below using the link in the video description. Now let's jump in here and look at separating drums and maybe adding a little bit more power afterwards. After we get them separated a little bit, we can maybe beef things up a little bit as well. Let me start by playing you what the drums sound like in the mix here, and then I'll solo up the drums so we can hear them by themselves as well. And then we'll get into the trick for getting some separation here. So here's our finished mix, and then we'll solo up the drums as well.
Wait, it'll be a little longer. She's coming for you. She'll get you fast as she can. Just wait, gotta be a little stronger. You'll make it all through. Don't lose sight of her head. Wait, it'll be a little longer.
So you can hear we've got a nice, thick, fat drum mix, but we also have a really good separation between our spot mics and our kit mics. That's the key there to getting a lot of fatness and a lot of thickness on your drums, is getting good separation. So the trick we're using here to get separation across our drum kit is by using 2 buses instead of 1 buses. So if we look at the routing here on our drums, we got a little bit of sub routing before they go to group buses here. So you can see all the kick mics go to our kick level, snare mics go to snare level, tom mics here are going to the toms level, and then we have our 3 mics and our room mic here on the end. But if we look here, our kick, our snare, and our toms are all going to what we call all drums. So they're going to another bus at the end of the mix called all drums. Over here, our overheads, our room mic, and another mic we have put up called the sausage mic, as well as the room emulation, are all going to something called high end. So we have 2 different buses here down at the end of the mix for our drums. The first one here is called all drums, so this is just spot mics on the kit. So take a listen to what this sounds like. So these are the prominent elements in the kit, right? Our kick, our snare, and in this song, the toms are pretty heavy too. But all of these things have good low end to them as well. Now, if we switch over to where our other mics are sending, so our overheads, our room mics, and that extra sausage mic there, all of those are sending into what we call high end here. So take a listen to what this bus sounds like. So what this gives us here is a couple different levels of control just on our drums here. So if we're going back over to our individual mics here, our first level of control, right, is on our individual mics. So we can do things on the individual mics here all the way across the kit. So our kick in, our snare top, our rack toms, stuff like that. The next level of control we have is at our subgroups here, or what I call the levels. So if I want to touch my kick drum as a whole, I can come to my kick level. So now I have control over just the kick drum here. The other way we can look at is on the snare drum, right? I can have control over just our snare drum. So those are 2 levels of control there, individual mics, and then on little group buses or sub buses here. The next level we have of control is of different portions of the kit. So I have spot mics versus kit mics. That way, you probably hear me talk about, if you watched any of my videos before, how I like low end to be coming from one source, right? I don't like multiple sources of low end feeding into each other. That's going to give you phase issues and it's going to make things a little bit whirly. I want my low end to be solid and I want it to be consistent through my mix. So I want my kick drum to have the low end, but my overheads, my room mic, my room emulations, I don't want significant low end to be coming from those sources. So by separating out spot mics and then kit mics, I have another level of control where I can make sure my kick drum, my snare drum, and my toms are beefy and thick and have a lot of power to them. I could add top end to them as well, right, if I want more crack, but then I won't bring up top end on the cymbal mics, right? If I had everything bussed together, if my overheads and my rooms were all running into the drum bus here, if I went to boost low end on my kick drum and the snare drum here, it would also bring up more low end in the overheads and the room mics. And I don't necessarily want that because that could give us more mud, right? We're not getting big low end from our overheads or from our room mics. That's coming from our kick drum. And if we boost that on our overheads, it's going to make things a little bit more muddy and it's going to make things less clear. Same thing if I wanted to boost top end, right? If I wanted more crack on my snare drum, if I boosted that on everything overall, I would get more cymbal noise as well. But here, so if I solo up just the spot mics here, so this is just our kick, our snare, and our toms, I could work on this and get things going just the way I want it without affecting our overheads here. So now I added a little bit more weight to the bottom end here and a little bit more top end crack up at 8K on just the kick, snare, and the toms. This way we're not getting a bunch of cymbal noise by bringing up a whole bunch of 8K here, right? We're just getting more top end air on our kick drum and our snare drum, a little bit more top end that opens up our toms a little bit here. I can also put on a little bit of compression here and it's not going to affect our cymbals at all, right? Sometimes if you compress things too much and your kick drum and your cymbals are running into the same compressor, obviously the compressor is going to react to your kick drum first and it can kind of give you a little bit of a squished sound on your cymbal mic. So now we've got a little bit of work here on just our spot mics. Let's switch over here and take a look at just our top end now. So this is just our overheads and our room mics here. So now we went in, we cleaned up our overheads a little bit. So I put a little bit of this Fairchild, this 670 on here, just touching that snare drum a little bit, just to make sure it's tucked in to the rest of our kit there on the kit mics. So kit mics, we want to be a little bit more balanced. So just touching the top end, just touching the peaks there on our snare drum to tuck them in a little bit with this Fairchild. It's a nice vibe as well. And then we can pull out some of this 400 area and clean up our room mics a little bit so there's not so much of that low mid mud going on in our overheads. Now see, we didn't need to pull out this area on our spot mics. So again, if we were doing this on our kit as a whole, probably don't want to tuck our snare drum back a little bit and everything. And I don't want to pull out the low mids on the entire kit as a whole. Just here on our overheads and our room mics, want to clear up that mid-range a little bit. So now we've touched both of these pieces here. So we've done a little bit on our spot mics, a little bit on our kit mics here. So let's get them going together. We'll start with our spot mics here, and then we'll add in our high end, so our overheads and our room mics here. Now we've got good separation between our spot mics and our room mics, right? So everything's not feeding into each other, and we have multiple sources of low end coming from our kick drum. We've got weird high end that's boosting all over the place because we want more crack on our snare drum or something like that. We have nice separation, and we can get very precise with what we want to add to what piece of the kit. We got to add a little bit more power to our kick drum by boosting a little bit of low end, not on our kit as a whole, just on our kick drum, but as well as on our tom mics there because we're affecting all of our spot mics. And we can add a little bit of crack and a little bit of air up top to make things feel a little bit more energetic, make it feel like he's hitting that snare drum a little bit harder without affecting the top end on our cymbals. So let's add all our other instruments back in here to the song, and we'll hear how the kit blends with the actual track now. Easy little trick here to get better separation on your drum kit, and it allows you to treat just your spot mics so you can add a little bit more power to your kit without affecting room mics or overhead mics here. All we're doing, sending just our spot mics to a bus here, so our kick drum, our snare drum, and our toms, those are going to all drums bus, and then our overheads and our room mics are sending to a top end bus. So we have them separated. I hope that was helpful for you. As I mentioned at the beginning of the video, if you're ready to take your mixes to the next level and really start dialing in your workflow as an engineer, then I have just the tool for you, and it is completely free. It is my 7-step mixing checklist, and you can download it below to start creating more professional mixes in less time. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video.